All right, what's up guys? Welcome to the Keyword Dominator Boosted Quick Start training. The purpose of this video is going to be to show you how to get to this state here on the Listing Wizard tab with all of our ASIN data populated, all of our initial keyword list built out from we're going to use Helium10 as our main keyword source for this first video. If you look here on the settings tab, we have the default criteria that is imported when you download the template. So you can see our 10 ASIN checkboxes are selected. Some of this Amazon data sources are selected. We're actually going to deselect these for just this video, just because I want to cover kind of a quick start on just getting your initial data source, which is your keyword data source. We're going to use Helium10, as I mentioned. You can also use ZonGuru or Jungle Scout. We'll have some more here adding shortly. And there'll be, again, follow-up videos for each of these that you can just quickly go to if you get stuck on one of them. But once you kind of understand the process for this first quick start video, it's pretty much the exact same. You just check the ones you want, import or download the data, and then import the data, and then it's there. If you haven't checked out the previous video on actually searching a main keyword and then finding your top 10 ASINs, go back and check that out. That data's we're going to start with that data already populated in this video. And then for our selections, as you can see, again, we've got our Helium10 is our main keyword source. That's really important. You want to assign this to be whatever is going to be the main source you're going to use for like keyword ranking and search volume. You want to have that kind of pre-established. This second one, if you have, or if you are subscribed to a second one of these SaaS tools, you can select that, and it'll allow you in the Listing Wizard tab to populate some of the metrics side by side. If you want to see kind of two of those SaaS tools data side by side, but you don't have to. You can just leave it set at Jungle Scout if you don't have one and you only want to use Helium10, for example. All right, so before we go and get our Helium10 data and download it, we do need to input our Helium10 account ID if we didn't do it in the onboarding. So just log into like Cerebro or any of the screens, and up in the top you'll see an account ID. It's a numerical value. Just go ahead and copy that and just make sure it's pasted in this cell here and there's no kind of spaces or anything. And that'll just allow us to open up all the URLs automatically. All right, and then once you've got the Helium10 data sources checked, magnet is another one we could do. I'll have that in a separate video just because it is kind of a add-on style report. But for this video, we're just going to do kind of the necessities, and you need a Cerebro and then an extension. And when I say extension, I mean a Chrome extension. So there's the X-ray tool is what we're going to be using in this video. ZonGuru has a similar one. So with each SaaS tool, you basically need the kind of keyword data source file, which is going to be the top line of each of these. So the Jungle Scout, it's Keyword Scout, but we're going to be using Cerebro. And then the Chrome extension is right here. And we've got the names that we're going to be naming the file. So if you ever forget the name, you can always just reference back here kind of in this data source hub section on what you name it. And then this last one here, that's XR2, this one's only going to be applicable if when you grabbed your top 10 ASINs, if your ASIN, which you always put in this first cell here, and that's covered in the previous video, if your ASIN's like not in the first page or two that the data gets populated for the initial X-ray report download that we're going to do in this video, then you do need to have the XR2 report. So you can see they're only required if your ASIN isn't already included. So just kind of know that that's there. I'm going to go ahead and do that as an example in this video just for the fun of it. But essentially it's as easy as just making sure you've got all the boxes checked. The ASIN files are really important. Those are going to be downloaded from Helium10 to populate all of our competitors' listing copy. So just know that the ASIN files kind of get tied to your primary keyword source, which again is going to be in that green cell there. So I'm going to go ahead and hop up here. We've already done step 1 in the previous video, so now we're on to step 2, which is download new data. And I'm just going to click that button. You'll see some things here. You do want to make sure you have your proper country selected. We've got USA selected, and we've got our Helium10 account ID in there. You've checked all the sources that you want. Obviously, we're just going over the Helium10 in this video. We can have just as easily checked all of them that we want to import and kind of do all this in one fell swoop. But for the sake of simplicity, and so you guys can go back and reference certain sources quicker. I'm going to break these videos up, so that's why I'm only doing the Helium10. And then the other thing is just make sure you've already logged into your Seller Central. If you are grabbing some Amazon reports, in this example, we're actually not. So, all right, and then when you hit yes, you're going to get a little prompt, and then you're going to start seeing all the tabs open up. If for some reason they don't open up, pay attention up here in the upper right corner of the URL bar for a little pop-up blocker icon. It only shows up for like 3 or 4 seconds, so you got to be kind of on top of it to click on it and disable it. And then if for some reason they still don't show up, you'll need to like Google how to disable Chrome's pop-up blocker. You got to go into settings and just turn it off. The other thing is these scribbles tabs that open up, we're going to need to manually refresh them anyway right before we save them just to verify all the ASIN data is correct. So what I recommend is just going down through and then Xing each one of these. It just helps the other pages load faster since we need to refresh them anyway. So I'm going to do that. All right, for the 2 Amazon pages, because we picked the XR and XR2, we're going to need to open up the X-Ray Chrome extension. So just go up to Helium10 and you'll click on X-Ray. During the first quick start video, when we went over how to find our at least top 9 ASINs, and then if we put our ASIN in the mix there as the first one, this search for our main keyword golf travel case would have uncovered our top 9. So we know that at least our top 9 are in this download as far as their product and correlating data. Now, if your product is not in this one, that's where the XR2 report comes in. So we've got another Amazon tab that automatically opened up that I'll show you how to grab that. But for the sake of this one, we know at least the top 9 listings are in this data set. So we're just going to come down here and download the CSV. One thing you do need to have before I actually click that, let me back up one step. Let's go and just verify our columns. So if you go here, and you'll get a little pop-up here. Just make sure all of these are checked, and then go ahead and download the CSV report. And I'm gonna flash a link up here on the screen for Google Drive for desktop. You can download that. It'll allow you to just real quickly kind of go to your Google Drive folder. And when you actually authorize Keyword Dominator, you're going to get the FBXL Tools folder, and then you'll have a Keyword Dominator subfolder. So you'll click in that. And then where you actually save the reports when you are wanting to import new reports in there is the new folder. And then there's actually an option on the settings tab. If you watch the settings overview video, it'll go into more detail, but there's a setting that you can check where as data comes into the tool, it'll actually get moved from the new folder to the imported. And that's kind of how you would want to set it up if you want to run multiple copies of Keyword Dominator for different ASINs. But for the sake of this video, we're going to keep it simple and just talk about the new folder. So this is going to be where you're going to want to save this XR report, which is the name of it. And because it's a Helium10 report, you're just going to go to the H10 folder. And you can see I've already got all of the kind of required Helium10 files in here. So I'm not actually going to resave them, but for the sake of this one here, XR is what you would name it. And you can tell I don't have the extension after it. It automatically applies that. So in this case, it's a CSV file, but you don't have to put .csv. Just type in capital XR, and then you'll hit save, and that's all you have to do for this initial report. And you can go ahead and just get out of that and actually get out of the tab altogether. All right, and then this one here actually takes us to the product page, assuming that our ASIN is not one of the top 10. And for this one, we're just going to want to download our product page X-ray report, and same deal, go ahead and double check that all of those columns are there, which they are, and we're just going to hit that download, and then this one's going to become XR2. So let's see, if I back up one to the new folder and go to Helium10, and you can see XR2, and then you'll just X out of that after you save it. Again, I'm not saving them just because I already have them saved. And then from there, we're going to come over to our Cerebro, which you can see it plugged in our top 10 ASINs for us and actually ran the Cerebro search, and that's because we had our account ID in there. So what you're going to want to do here is actually look and see how many keywords it's uncovered just by kind of default. And I like to get it in between like 2,000 and 3,000 is a good number. So I'm going to come up here to search volume, and for the minimum search volume, I'm just going to try, I like to usually do like 400 or 500 first. And that just puts a minimum search volume and kind of removes all the lower search volume keywords. And let's see what this gives us here. Okay, so 1470, that's actually, I usually like to get actually a little more. Let's try 300. Okay, so 2,000, that's not bad. You could drop down to maybe 250 as well, but once you're happy there, you need to download the data. Now you do want to be careful. You can see there's a couple different places to download stuff. If you download this word frequency, that's obviously not what we want. So make sure you scroll down right above the column header here, hit export data, and then you'll do as a CSV file. And I don't know why it keeps taking me there, but Helium10, and then this one is the CR for Cerebro. So you'll just name it CR, hit save. I'm going to actually double check my settings here as well. You can see all of the columns are on by default. If you do have like a diamond plan, I think you'll be able to get the keyword sales as well. We've got it built dynamically to where if you do get that, it'll still, pull in the data. So that is the Cerebro report. And now for scribbles, I mentioned each of these you need to refresh manually, and that's because the way that the data gets pulled in, you just want to verify that it gets all pulled in and it's accurate. So the process I like to use, I like to actually copy the ASIN because we're going to need that for the name. So I do that, and then I just hit enter, and then the enter actually refreshes the tab and then pulls in all the data kind of all at once. So that's why we kept the tabs kind of open and still up there, so we could just quickly refresh them. All right, so with each of these, I'm not going to go through and do every one of them, but I'll show you how to do one here. You just are going to go up, and you can see it automatically pulled the data in. You do want to make sure, I guess, you don't add anything here. It's just kind of the default. You've pulled in the data, and it's accurate. You can just kind of quickly look and see that you've got information in all the fields there. Go ahead and hit export, export to CSV. Again, this is a Helium10 ASIN file, so there's a special nomenclature for these ASIN files that we're using to actually get the listing information. So if I go back into my Helium10 folder, you'll see it's going to be 1 underscore and then the ASIN, and the 1 actually corresponds to the 1 on our settings tab, and this would be our product in this example. And you'll notice that these tabs get kind of layered in order, so you could just do 1 and then the next tab will be 2 underscore, and that's why we copied the ASIN, because you would want to do 1 underscore and then you can just hit Control V to paste it, and then you would hit save. So again, you're not typing in .csv, that does it automatically and adds that extension on there, but that's kind of the process. I'm going to hit cancel because I've already got it. And then again, this next one, you would come in here, I'd copy the ASIN, I would hit enter, and then it's going to populate and pull in the information for us. All right, and I like to just let it finish loading there, and then you'll go up to export, export CSV. You want to make sure you don't accidentally export it as text. We've got it, if you can save it as CSV, that's kind of the default. All right, and then again, Helium10. And then you'll notice that number 2, KX2, that would be the name nomenclature. So if you already got it pasted, and there you go. So again, I'm not going to do all of them, but that concludes kind of the Helium10 data download. So I'm actually just going to X out of these, and we'll go back to our Keyword Dominator file and finish up. All right, so after we've actually downloaded the data into our Google Drive folder, and we have it in the right spot, and again, you can always look here if you forget where to put it. You've got the name, and then you've got the folder in our Google Drive of where it goes. But after you're ready to actually import the data into the tool, you'll leave all the checkboxes as they are, and then we're going to come up to import data into KD Boosted. Go ahead and just click that. All right, and you'll see you're going to get a few notifications here. The max keyword source rows, that is applicable in what we're doing right now, because we've got our CR file, our Cerebro file, and there's a setting on the settings tab. I'll go ahead and hit no. It's right down here. This means if we have more than 4,000 rows in our Cerebro, which if you recall, we had about 2,000, it's actually going to cut it off at that. And that's just a performance measure. You can increase that if you do want to bring in way more Cerebro keywords than 4,000, but I just like to keep it on there by default, just because it does help improve performance a little bit. All right, so what you'll do is, again, import data into KD Boosted. And I'm going to hit yes this time. And what you're going to see is as this data comes in, if it gets imported correctly, you're going to get a notification here. And you don't really have to worry about, anything as far as where the data is getting stored. Just follow kind of this process I'm going over in this video. And then if you want to add additional keyword and data sources, watch those follow-up videos that are after this, and you'll learn how to properly save the files and then import them. But the import is honestly identical to this. It's just you can pick and choose which one you want to do. So you can see all of them were successfully imported correctly. We got the notification. So now for the Helium10 data, actually what you're going to do is go over to our source tab, and the data, it's going to look like this when you first come into it. The data is not going to be in the Helium10 Cerebro tab yet. It lets you just double check these settings or what you want before it kind of runs everything. So this is a good default criteria. You could drop this down to 2 if you wanted to potentially pull in more keywords from the Cerebro table into your target keyword list, but I'm going to go ahead and keep it like this. You can also hover over each of these and get an explanation of what they mean. But the purpose of kind of this next step that we're taking is it's going to really quickly correlate the search volume market share across our 10 ASINs that we've selected, and then figure out which of the keywords that all 10 of these are ranking at least somewhat well for, and depending on what that amount is, it's going to dictate if it's relevant kind of to the combination of ASINs or not, and then move them over accordingly to our keyword list. And it's just a quick way to essentially grab all the ones that are highly relevant to what we're after and see what our competitors are doing well for kind of at the same time. So it really cuts out a lot of wasted effort of manually checking things. So we're just going to come over to Helium10. We've already imported the data. Now we're just going to be building out our keyword list. So there's kind of 3 steps. We're going to be adding our Cerebro keywords, and then we'll add alpha ASIN keywords that didn't get picked up in our initial Cerebro move, and then we're going to add some manual keywords as well. So go ahead and hit this button here, and this actually does this operation of kind of calculating everything and then moving the keywords over to the target list all in one fell swoop. So you'll see it's pulled the data in now, and it asks us if we want to append the keywords that it's going to move to the target list or just override it. Because we don't have any in our keyword list right now, we're just going to hit no, and that's just going to kind of create the list from scratch. We could have, if we had already had keywords in our target list and wanted to append them, we could have changed the settings here and then appended them. So that's what that's there for. All right, and then you'll get that prompt. You'll just hit OK. And now if we go over to the listing wizard tab, you're going to see all of the data that we've pulled in from Cerebro, and all of the ASIN file data has been populated. All the metrics and charts are all ready. So this is just a really easy way and quick way to kind of get acclimated with the system. You will notice that like our PPC performance data is all going to be blank. Search query report, brand analytics, all that's going to be blank because we didn't import those. Import those keyword data sources. So again, the subsequent videos will show you how to import those, but it's the exact same process we just went through. You're just clicking some extra checkboxes, and you've obviously got to download the data first. So that's what those videos are going to cover. Before I finish this video though, I do want to go back and show you how to do the alpha ASINs and then manual keywords. So we're going to go back now, and what I like to do is just leave all of these checked. They will all be checked by default, but if you did want to just grab the alpha ASIN keywords from the true alpha ASINs, you could deselect these ones that aren't doing as well from a search volume market share standpoint. And what this is going to do, it's going to look at any keywords that didn't get pulled into our target list yet based on our initial criteria, and it's going to say, okay, for these that we have checked, if they have a keyword that's under 10 organic ranking or better, so like between 1 and 10, but they haven't moved over yet, go ahead and move them over. So I like to just pick all of them because it gives me more keywords to look at, and then I go through and see what's relevant and what's not. But do whatever you want to do there. Go ahead and hit add alpha ASINs when you're ready though, and it's just going to, when you hit yes, automatically check your table here and then move those keywords over accordingly. All right, you'll get a prompt. Go ahead and hit OK. And then now if we go back over to our keyword list, and you'll see under the source, it'll say CR means Cerebro. And if we go all the way down to the bottom, we'll see these alpha ASINs. They get pulled in as CR and then actually the ASIN. So that's how you know kind of where they came from. All right, and then the last thing that I want to show you is how to actually add manual keywords from the Helium10 data. So if we go back to our source tab, and what you can do is come up here and hit already on target list, and each of these sources has this same button. It basically just shows you in green which keywords have already been added. So if we scroll down, some of them will be white. And what you can do, you can actually come up here and place a filter around each of these. So I'm going to do the Cerebro table. That's just going to put a table around there, and you could sort this then by fill color and move all the white ones up to the top, for example. All right, and then now if we go down through here, we can look at the relevancy and see if any of them apply. And if we like them, we're just going to check them like this. I'm just randomly picking some to show you an example. And then what we're going to do when we're ready is come up here, add keywords, add manual keywords. And I'm going to hit yes. And that's just going to add these now to our target list and kind of update all of the adjacent columns. Just like we just added the checkboxes to this, we could have just as easily had, you know, all of these data sources input and downloaded, and then gone through and checked all of them at once and just done one kind of manual move. That's a faster way to do that. But once this updates, you'll see the color code should update as well. So that now means that they're on the list. And sure enough, if we go over to our list and scroll down to the bottom, I'm just going to Control Shift down, you'll see manual, and then they're on there. So that's how we do it, guys. That's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this video as far as getting up and acclimated as quick as possible with how to pull in your ASIN files and some initial keyword data from Helium10. The maintenance phase of the Helium10 is obviously if you want to kind of update your Cerebro data and look at different keywords, you can always swap those out here. And I mentioned the import move mode. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but I will mention where it's at. It's right here. As soon as I click that, the step where it actually imported the data and gave us these check marks, it would have said imported correctly and moved. So that just means it moved from the new folder to the imported folder. And that makes it ready for, as far as the new folder structure, ready for kind of the next run. And then it would always be kind of empty at that point and allow you to just run multiple copies, or maybe update this copy if you want to name it the SKU. You can do that. That's what a lot of users do. And then, you know, maybe update it twice a month or something like that. But that's the process. Again, stay tuned now for the subsequent videos where we're going to show you how to import the ads data and some of these additional keyword source data sources. So I will see you guys on the next training video. Cheers.